Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with Rocky and we're going to tell you the books that I am currently in the middle of reading. Now some of those I may have started reading a while ago, or some of them might be recent reads, but all of them I have put down for whatever reason, and I just wanted to go over what those are. This will also help me decide, do I want to give it another go or should I let the book go? So when I start a book and I put it down, when I'm going to read it again, if it's been, more than a week or so, I'm going to start over from the beginning. So that's also a reason why I haven't picked a lot of these back up, because I know that I've forgotten so much information and then I'll have to start over and I'll have to go back through the part of the book that I wasn't enjoying enough to keep reading anyways. So let me tell you what books I am currently in the middle of. First is Meet Cute, which is an anthology about cute meetings with stories from a bunch of different authors. I am 150 pages in, so about halfway through. I think I started reading this maybe in January and haven't picked it back up. I just have a hard time with anthologies because when you start getting into a story, it's over and you want more of that story, or if you're reading a story that you don't really like and it's hard to trudge through. This is actually a book that I wouldn't have to start from the beginning, so that does make it kind of appealing to pick up again because I'm already halfway through, so I only have about 150 pages left to finish. Hopefully I'll pick this one up soon because the stories that I have read are pretty cute. It's just, I want them to be longer. Next is Because You Love to Hate Me, edited by Anne Marie, which I was so excited when this book came out. I love the idea of the BookTube young adult author mashup. I read, but I think I was about 100 pages in. So I read a couple stories, and the first one I hated. Anne Marie's story I did like, but then I read another story that I hated again. Just like the booktuber prompts in between were like weird. Now I'm noticing 2 anthologies already. Now, have I ever finished an anthology? Maybe 1 or 2. Maybe I'm just not an anthology person. Next is Three Dark Crowns by Kendare Blake. I read about 70 pages or so of this. I really wish I left my bookmarks in books that I started. This was pretty good from what I read so far. It was just kind of not a slow start, but I just wasn't fully engaged and it was really easy to put down. Once I put down a book, it's just so hard to pick back up. But this is a trilogy that I definitely want to read. Although I did spoil myself one day by accidentally reading the synopsis of the new book that hasn't come out yet. Next is Before the Devil Breaks You by Libba Bray. This is the 3rd book in the Diviners trilogy, which is one of my favorite series. I enjoy them so much, but sometimes they're like so atmospheric and the pace of it just like, it makes it not difficult to read, but like harder to make me want to pick up whenever I've had a busy day or something and I just want to relax. These are so good, and it's also part of me who just doesn't want to finish this one and then have to wait a long time for the next one, so I'll definitely be reading this one. I probably read about half of it so far and it is really good as the first 2. Next up is Armada by Ernest Cline. This is the author who wrote Ready Player One, and I loved Ready Player One so much and it was so fun to read. But I think I read about 80 pages of this one before I put it down. I just wasn't as into it as Ready Player One, and the action doesn't start as soon, so maybe I'll read this one. I'm not sure yet. Next is The Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman. This is a recent one that I put down. I read, again, about 75 pages and I wasn't that into it yet. Next is Gregor the Overlander by Suzanne Collins, which is book 1, Gregor the Underland Chronicles. I started reading the first book during the Booktubeathon and it was okay. It's middle grade and it has crazy good reviews, but just another book I wasn't into enough to keep reading. Into the Water by Paula Hawkins, the author of The Girl on the Train. This one I maybe read 45 pages and I was just bored. Also, I hate how thrillers start off by telling you a little snippet from the end, like 1 page from the end, and then it like goes back to the beginning of the story. I actually remember what happens in that first page and I think about it the entire book and like figure stuff out quicker that way, and I hate that. And I usually try to skip it, but I accidentally read it and then it just feels like, did I already spoil myself? I don't know. But I'll pick it up again whenever I'm in the mood for a thriller. Okay, he's just crying and crying for attention. So this is Here We Are, 44 Voices, Draw write and speak about feminism for the real world, edited by Kelly Jensen. And there's stories and pictures and just a bunch of different little snippets from 44 different people. And this was so good. I was loving it while I was reading it. I started reading it in ebook form. I think my ebook expired. Also, I knew how beautiful this book was and like that I was missing stuff while reading the ebook. So I bought the physical copy, and by the time the physical copy came, I had started reading something else, and then I put this on the back burner. Also, I had wanted to reread it from the beginning so that I could, you know, see any snippets that I missed. And of course, adding that stipulation to me reading it made me not pick it up again. And I was literally like probably this far in it. Like I had barely any left. But then when I added the stipulation, you had to reread all this. I haven't picked it up since. It's just had such a good message, and all the different points of view and perspective were just so great and made me, you know, really reevaluate how I act and how I let people treat me. And this book is amazing. I highly recommend it, even though I haven't finished it. What I've read so far is amazing. Next is Ferris by Marissa Meyer. This is a novella that's book, I think, 3.5 in the Lunar Chronicles. I have a bookmark in here at page 44, but I feel like I may have also been reading the ebook, so I'm not sure how far I got, but I think I was enjoying it, but for some reason I just couldn't continue, which is really unfortunate because that stopped my reading of the Lunar Chronicles, and now it's been years since, and I still haven't finished it, so. Oh, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This one probably isn't too surprising because I know can be a polarizing book of people who love it or can't really get into it. At the time I was reading it, I was having so much trouble getting into it. I do think that I can enjoy it if I'm reading it at the right time though. So I put it down for now, but I do hope to enjoy this one day. Next is The Rook by Daniel O'Malley. This and Here We Are the ones on this list that annoy me the most because I was so close to finishing and for whatever reason stopped. This book is almost 500 pages and I read over 400 pages of it and then I stopped reading it. The main reason is that I wasn't enjoying it at the time I was reading it. I think I was kind of in a reading slump, and it was kind of a weird time to be reading it because I was working, but my in-laws were in town for the week and we were like working on the house and like doing all this other stuff. So when I was reading it, I was super distracted or I was falling asleep, and I don't think I ever got like all the way into the story and attached to the characters, but I was like trying to push through it because my sister had just read it and loved it, and I was like, oh, I'll read it for her. But that was a bad idea. I really should have put it down and waited to start it till later, but what are you gonna do? Now I will have to reread over 400 pages that I've already read so that I can finish it. But I hope next time I pick it up, I am obsessed with it because it's such a great concept. A woman who loses her memory, but she's trying to go through her regular life and she works for like a secret agency that covers up like supernatural stuff. Like, it's a really cool idea, but I was just reading it at the exact wrong time. Next is Never Will Wake by Marisha Pessl. This is a recent release. It is her first young adult book. I read and really enjoyed the Night film by her a couple years ago. So I hadn't completely gotten into the story yet, and I put it down so I could read something else. But I really think I'll pick this one back up soon. Next is The Demonologist by Andrew Piper. This is a scary book that I guess I was only 39 pages into, and I was trying to read this during like Halloween and I couldn't really get into it, and then Halloween was over, so I just put it down. I'm gonna try again in upcoming fall and see if I enjoy it, you know, because it's gonna be like a actual scary book. I feel like it's kind of like a Dan Brown book with demons maybe, which sounds cool. So also, I think I bought it because it's blurred by Gillian Flynn. Smart, thrilling, and utterly unnerving. And Gillian Flynn is my favorite thriller writer, so I will try this again. Next is one that's kind of sad to me. The Fallen Kingdom's first book by Morgan Rhodes. I want to say I got less than 100 pages into it, and I'm not sure why exactly I put it down, but I have so many books in this series. I have 3 Fallen Kingdom books and 2 of the spin-off series for it, and all I've read is like 60 pages of the first book. I think the grand scale of how many books are out is like really intimidating to me, especially since I am in the middle of so many other fantasy trilogies that I would just put it down and have had a really hard time picking it back up. Next are 2 books by Victoria Schwab. I haven't finished any books by her yet, which is crazy because I know I'm gonna love her, but I don't know what's wrong with me. A Darker Shade of Magic, I have read, I want to say 80 pages of, and then Vicious, I read 214 pages of, and for some crazy reason, I just wasn't loving it again. It was like a book that I was reading during a reading slump that, you know, didn't help the reading slump. I just like trudged through it even though I wasn't in the mood to read, and that is really sad because I know so many people love this book and think it's amazing. I myself will probably think it's amazing, and I still haven't finished a Victoria Schwab book, which is crazy. And I own 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I own 6 of Victoria Schwab's books. Haven't finished any of them. Next is Otherworld by Jason Segel. Is that how you say it? And Kirsten Miller. This I wasn't expecting at all. I had gotten in a subscription box, but I love Ready Player One. I think I had just read Warcross whenever I got this, so I was super excited to read it. A book that involves video games, virtual reality of some sort. I read about 90 pages, I think. You're introduced to some characters and you see a bit of the virtual reality world, but not like really into it yet. So I think it was just taking too long to set up the story, and the part of the story that I was reading wasn't too interesting. I put it down. I do want to read it though because I love video game books. Next is Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow. I probably read 150 pages. I enjoyed it okay, but there's just so much introducing the world, and you know, the characters using vocabulary that we don't know yet, and is taking so long to explain, which sometimes I don't care about. But in this one, it just seemed like they're using the vocabulary and talking about, you know, things that are going to happen or that are part of this world, but the storyline that we're following right now, like nothing's happening. Like all we're doing is, you know, not learning about Nevermore, and I'm like, come on, can we just get to the story? But I guess it's kind of a theme in this, like too much setup, I will put the book down. Next is Ghosted by Rosie Walsh. This was a July book of the month pick, so a recent book purchase. I read about 50 pages of it before I put it down. It was just, the part I read was good, and if I thought it was more like thrillery, I probably would have kept reading. But once I knew it was like something maybe sad, sometimes when I think I'm gonna be sad in a book, I put it down because I don't know. I love the books that like make me cry when I'm caught in the moment and like it's a beautiful or sad thing that happens. Like I enjoy it, but if I'm like warned that I'm gonna be sad, it's gonna be really hard to continue reading. So those are all the books that I have on my shelves that I've read, you know, at least 40 pages or so and ended up putting down. If we went through like ebooks that I've had checked out from the library and then stopped reading, this could be like a 3-hour video. It's really sad though, because if you add up like all the pages I've read out of all these different books, I could have read, you know, 10 books out of that. Or if I just continued on the ones I was over halfway through, but oh well. Hopefully I will finish reading these or get rid of them, because I need to come to the realization that I'm not going to finish everything and I'm not going to like everything that I think I'm going to like. So let me know if any of these I should just pick up right away because you think they're wonderful, and if I just read a little bit longer, I would love it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.